Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Health Coach Success Virtual Masterclass. My co-host Laura and I worked hard to pull together this special online event just for you. It's a 5-day mini course in which we interview the best and brightest health coach and marketing experts on the planet to try to understand how they've become such great coaches and entrepreneurs. Included in the 20-plus expert interviews are some names you might recognize. Primal Health Coach Institute founder Mark Sisson, celebrity nutrition expert and New York Times bestselling author J.J. Virgin, author, cardiologist, and staunch health coach advocate Dr. William Davis, Michelle Liotta of Health Coach Power Community, Michelle Norris, CEO of Paleo FX and ID Life Nutrition, and many, many more. The Health Coach Success Virtual Masterclass is now available and totally free for a limited time. Check it out at primalhealthcoach.com/success. Today's guest is Jenea Sutton, founder of Edge Cycle Indoor Cycling Studio in San Diego. This is a pretty fun episode because what health and fitness nerd hasn't dreamed of opening their own gym? Jenea's mission in creating Edge was to create an environment where everyone who walks through the doors is seen and acknowledged. The instructors use motivation, thoughtfully curated playlists, and creative freedom to push their riders' physical boundaries during classes. We chatted about her journey as an indoor cycling instructor, what motivated her to make the leap to studio owner, and everything that went into launching a brick-and-mortar spin business. Remember that the show notes for our episodes can always be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. We'd love to have you screenshot your podcast app and tag us on Instagram at Health Coach Radio. We'll tag you back. Let's saddle up and clip into this conversation, little spin class humor there for you, with Jeneas Sutton. All right, welcome back, everybody, and welcome to the show, Jeneas Sutton. How are you today?
I'm very well. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you. We're excited to chat with you, learn a bit about what you're up to, and where you are, how you got started. Actually, if you could, kind of kick this conversation off by sharing a little bit about your backstory, what got you to where you are today, and a little bit about what you're doing today. That's a great place for us to kick off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So I am CEO and founder of Edge Cycle in San Diego. It's located in downtown. We are in our second year, and that is an indoor cycling studio. And basically it's just, I wanted to open a space for healing. I wanted to open a space for people to go, just a place to be unapologetically yourself. So you'll see a lot of, you'll see fuck basic on the wall. You'll see beautiful graffiti murals. You'll see a lot of personality when you come in those doors. And it was really important for me to, just create a space of all acceptance, because I think in this day and age and what we need is a place to go. So that was really important to me.
Awesome. So how did you get into indoor cycling? What was the journey way back that got you interested even in that particular endeavor?
Totally. So I used to be a professional hip hop dancer. And then, that really hurts your knees. It really kills your lower back. So I went to Soul Cycle in West Hollywood, in Los Angeles, and basically cried my eyes out, probably like 15 minutes into the class. There was something about the motivation, and ended up just taking a break from dance, working front desk at Soul Cycle. 6 months in, I was able to audition, and I was one of the youngest Soul Cycle instructors in the U.S.
Wow.
Yeah, and that kind of started my journey. Soul Cycle is definitely a huge part of my foundation, where I found motivation and I found a love for fitness, and that physical activity can really, bring out some beautiful things in people and definitely be a healing tool. But as we progressed and stuff, it was kind of just time for me to start something new, something that was a little bit more me. And that's where Ed Cycle was born.
So why cycling? What was it that, like of all the fitness modalities out there, I'm always interested in what attracts people to different types of activity and what they really enjoy doing. What was it about cycling that kind of got your attention?
Yeah, there's something when you take fitness off the ground, which is very scary for some people. But there's something about the wheel that just circulates energy throughout your body. And a lot of people, there's spin and there's indoor cycling. And really quick, I
Hmm.
just want to like touch on the different points. Um,
Awesome.
Spin is like going as fast as you can. You're paying attention to your heart rate. Um, and indoor cycling is more of like a rhythm riding tool. There's more resistance, so it's more of a journey. You're going to have really heavy resistance where you go slow, and then you're going to peel off that resistance so you can go fast. And a lot of that is dictated by the beat of the music. And there's just something about, I'm came from a dance background, but
Hmm.
having that connection to music while pushing yourself physically, it just really puts you in a euphoric state. And I thought it was extremely interesting, especially as a person who really didn't like going to the gym. I was one of those people who made fun of people going to the gym. um, so to now be here in my journey looking like 7 years later, it is an interesting thing. I never thought I would be here.
Awesome. I myself am a group fitness instructor, so I know what it's like when you have a background in something. And I was also a dancer, but also an athlete. And it was like, I just need something that's kind of like sport and kind of like dance. And group fitness really did tick those boxes. Um, so I love that you differentiated between sort of the rhythm ride and the drill-based ride.
Hmm.
Bizarrely, I'm working with I'm working with a gal right now who trains trains indoor cycling instructors. I'm helping her build an online training certification program. So I'm
Yeah.
learning all about the difference. And I did teach spin for a while, or it wasn't really my favorite because I do like being on the ground. I don't, maybe I have that discomfort about being off the ground.
Right.
So what I heard you say was that you worked front desk at SoulCycle, then you were able to audition to be an instructor. But is there also a certification you have to go through to do that?
There is just a soul cycle training. You move to New York, you move your entire life. I was located in LA at the time, moved my life to New York, and they don't tell you where you're going to go. So you're just with 3 months of training at the headquarters of Soul, and you get broken down mentally and broken down physically. It's a really beautiful experience.
Okay, wait. You're gonna have to go more into that. That's wild.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Any fitness certification I've ever done in 25 years in the industry has been like a weekend or an online course.
Yeah.
SoulCycle legit makes you live in New York for 3 months to do their training camp. Is that full-time days or what's it like?
It's not full-time days. I don't know exactly how much of the training process I can discuss, but I do
Oh,
know that, it's, I think, it was really necessary for that training. Like, I couldn't imagine only doing something for a weekend and then calling me
Hmm.
an expert and getting in front of people and doing it. You know what I mean? I definitely think that that training was really just the foundation of really gaining an understanding. And us fitness instructors, there's a period where you have to really get to know yourself as an instructor. You have to get to know what kind of music you like, what kind of coach you want to be, what do you want to convey to your room. And I think that takes time. And that was just like, I think probably the most blessed part of just the entire experience was I was put in front of people not yet ready, because I think a whole year, it really takes a year for an instructor to get comfortable to kind of be more than just, this is your bicep, this is how many calories you're burning. It's so much more than that, and it can be. Um, but I definitely was able with that training to just get a good idea of, how I want to do this, and do I really want to do this.
Hmm.
I'm definitely not a person who half-asses everything. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna fully go there. So it was really cool.
Wow.
So can you speak a little bit to the notion of getting to know what kind of instructor you are and how you go about conveying, what you want that room to be like? How much latitude do you have as the instructor as far as programming a particular class, designing workouts, picking music, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that was kind of like where I kind of came into conflict at Soul, because I'm a hip hop girl.
Mm-hmm.
I love hip hop. I love old school hip hop. Even love like heavy rock and roll. You know what I mean? And they did just ask for censored music. And for me, I don't know, when I'm at the gym or something like that, there's something about, the word fuck that really gets you going. Um, and so what I like to create at Edge, it's complete freedom. They construct their playlists, they construct their journeys. Their music is an exact reflection of who they are. And that's really what differentiates the classes. Everybody has a person for them,
Mm-hmm.
but people are like, how are your instructors like all so different? It's because their classes are complete reflections of just who they are, and that can't be duplicated. So I give them full freedom and full creativity, anywhere from like they put colored lights on, some of them take it off. I believe just choosing a color in the room can set a completely different vibe. We've had smoke machines in the room, we've had glow sticks in the room, we've had confetti popping in the room. I really like them to really go there and see kind of what their vision is and bring it to life.
Very cool. Yeah, I the classes I teach are like shout out to Les Mills. The ones I teach, all the music and choreography is pre-done at a big studio in New Zealand, and I won't bore you with that. But when I was working with my friend here who's training indoor cycling instructors, I went to one of her weekend training sessions, and I totally got that sense. So there's one gal who taught the master class, and it was all this like. It was like Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, Disturbed. Like it was this crazy hard rock playlist. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, if I were going to put a playlist together, it would all be like 90s house, like bangers. Like that's
Right.
all I would do. I would,
Right.
And
Totally.
somebody would like that. I think maybe there would be a crowd for that.
100%. There's nothing like getting a song played that and that brings you back to something. You know what I mean? That's kind of just that feel good. You start to sing, all those things.
Yeah,
Totally.
I will say it was such a cool experience because like, Laura and I both we're kind of just like old school gym. We just lift heavy weights. We just do old school gym stuff. So when I was in the spin studio, and to your point, the lights were down. There was a friggin' disco ball. There was the sound system must have been in the tens of thousands of dollars in the sound system because it was just perfect, loud, dark.
Yeah.
It was like I died from the workout, real, but it was so wild and fun while I was doing it. I was like, okay, I can see why people get hooked on this.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what your studio's like?
Definitely lights down for sure. Someone labeled us the rebels of the fitness industry. I'm not exactly sure where that came from, but now that's like executing kind of everywhere. So we're just like, we're crazy, for our year anniversary, we did Magic Mike versus Hustlers. So we've had, fake dollar bills. We had the whole entire studio kind of looked like a strip club, and it was just really, really fun. We had dancers coming in and doing full on hip hop choreography. Like we just like to take things to the next level and see kind of how far we can take this spin thing and how cool can we make it.
Awesome. So you lived in New York for 3 months, right? And was training there. And then what? Did you move back to LA and work in a local how does all that work? Like you work in a local I just want to give our audience a bit of a picture of your entire path that eventually led you to open sort of Edge Cycle. So you finish your training and then you go to work as a Soul Cycle instructor. What did that look like? Were you back in LA? Were you able to choose where you instruct and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so they don't actually tell you, at least back when I was in training, they just kind of see your vibe and then they place you.
Okay.
At the time they're opening a lot of studios in the US at that point. So they actually didn't know where to put me at first. They were just like, what do we do with you? And I kind of had an option between going back to Los Angeles or going to the Bay Area. And I chose to go to the Bay Area. In there, I worked in Castro for a while, and then ended up opening the East Bay Studios, which was at Walnut Creek and then Berkeley. So that was huge, that they trusted me to open those studios, and we built communities kind of from nothing. And I think just because of that opportunity, that showed me that I could build something from nothing. It was kind of like, I kind of felt that I was getting to my peak when the Warriors started taking my class, the basketball team. So Draymond Green was in my class. Jordan Bell was frequenting my class. Ian Clark was frequenting my class. And it was really cool that I was just getting a lot of different demographic. And everyone said that there was Soul Cycle, and then there was Jenea's class. Mm-hmm. Everyone felt that I was kind of like a different brand. And, just kind of going back and forth with corporate, sometimes, we agreed on things, sometimes we didn't agree on things. And for me, I'm a very real, unapologetic, straight up person, and I wanted to be able to do that in my room. And I got to the point to where I was teaching all the time, and I ended up losing my voice. And I went to I went to the vocal doctor, and he had mentioned, you probably should be on vocal rest for a month. And at that point, I was like, if I'm going to lose my voice, if I'm not going to be able to talk for a month, then I'm going to do it for something that I truly 100% believe in. And I was like, if I'm going to do this for anybody, I'm tired of making other people's dreams come true. I think I need to revert back to myself. So that was kind of the point where I ended up leaving Soul. And I don't know, I couldn't picture myself working for anybody else. So I was like, if it's not out there, you got to create it.
Mm-hmm. We've heard that a couple times with entrepreneurs, people that own their own business and started something a little bit bigger. Hey, if what you're looking for is not out there, just go ahead and build it, right? So you took your experience with Soul Cycle and thought, how can I make this me, right? Yeah. How can I make it more unique? Because clearly there's a demand for what it is you deliver, right? If these higher profile people are attending your class and you're scheduled out the wazoo. So, so Erin is a group fitness instructor. I happen to own a CrossFit affiliate. So kind of fitness is our thing, but we've got a lot of folks here where this comes up for me sometimes with some of the admissions calls I do. What if, I'm not really into fitness? Do I have to be a fitness instructor to be a coach? And we're like, no, you don't, but you're still, for the most part, going to business for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And the process of doing that, there's certain things that are similar. Mm-hmm. I don't care what kind of business you're starting, right? Mm-hmm. Whether you are building doorknobs or you're, going and opening a health coaching business, right? So could you talk to me a little bit about what that process for you was like, both mentally, like the process you went through on, how can I make this better? What does this kind of look like? What were your first few steps?
You never know what you're getting yourself into. So you do, to be completely honest. I think, the first steps is I couldn't get this vision of the actual studio out of my head. I saw an urban space. I saw industrial fixtures. I saw almost like an upscale garage, and that vision just did not leave. Edge came to me very quickly, the name. I just had mentioned, I said Edge out loud, and I was like, Edge, edgy, really just playing off of those words. Mm-hmm. And then it was mostly just like the vision that transpired into conversation, and that conversation just transpired into what we actually put into it. But I would say the feeling and the vision came first, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of the logistics are how can I actually make this happen? It was funny. The fire department completely laughed at us for permitting for some of the things that we wanted to do. They're like, yeah, absolutely not. So also staying just within the lines of being logical and realistic. But the feeling kind of carried me throughout in making all of my decisions for all of the materials and stuff like that. So I think the all-around product was pretty close, pretty spot on.
I think that's really a compelling story because what you have is a tangible product. You have a spin studio, and so what you started with was what came to you first was the visualization of the actual space. Now, if we kind of extrapolate this out to maybe anybody listening who's not in the fitness space but specifically more in the nutrition space, you know, we don't have physical dwellings like what's consistent between what you did and what any health coach or nutrition coach listening can relate to is the customer experience. Like you have to picture what it's going to be like when somebody engages with your thing, whether it's a brick and mortar building or some kind of online program or some kind of in-person coaching, whatever it is. Starting with the customer experience in mind is I think a really good way to start. I that's my bias. I don't know what you think, Laura, but I think if we can envision and sort of brainstorm what this experience is going to be like for people who hire us or use us, it helps to then you can back into the steps that you need to start with, right?
Absolutely.
Like we don't really know what the first step is to creating a business. I don't think anybody knows what the first step is. So if you start with the vision in mind, then you can back into the steps.
And I do believe, I just think like that attracts exactly what you want to attract. You know what I mean? I knew what I wanted the feeling to be.
Yeah.
You know, the feeling and the energy that for it to execute and just the vibe. And everybody will tell you, they say, I walk in here and I feel like I'm home. And that was really important to me. And just because, you know, there's that intimidating factor, you know, you walk in a gym, sometimes it can be really uncomfortable. You walk into some spaces and you're like, dude, you know, it's a vulnerable thing to go to anything fitness based. You know, it's a very, very vulnerable thing. And you're really facing a lot of fear there. So for people who work out and for people who don't work out, we needed to touch both. And with that, I just think the vibe really led the way on that.
Yeah. And so then that's a great point that you just touched on is the people coming in who are intimidated. Gym intimidated, which by the way is a term I'm patenting. And the front desk staff is really important.
Yeah.
In a boutique environment, probably even a big box gym like the one I teach at, the front desk staff is really important there too. So what did you teach, or how did you train up your customer facing front desk staff in order to help continue to facilitate that vibe, that welcoming vibe?
You know, they all are required, like upon the hiring process, you have to have taken class. So we get a lot of people, you know, who see the ad online and they come in and we're like, yep, okay, so we're going to book you into a class. And they're all kind of really surprised by that. But you really don't get it until you do it. You know what I mean? And I think that in itself kind of opens them up to the actual product and what they're supporting. And if that's along the lines with them, that's kind of like the first thing, you know, if this isn't for you, no problem, you know, but this wouldn't be the job for you. And I think from there, you know, they just have to be in line with we are a family. A lot of people moved from the Bay Area just to work for me and just to work for Edge. It was a huge, huge thing. So we believe in family, we believe in community, and just it's instead of kind of like worker client relationship, you know, we kind of just welcome everybody in like they're just a part of the fam. And I think that's huge to kind of just create the space that I wanted to create. That was a really just important thing to me. Obviously, you know, there's a professional line, but we want people to feel comfortable. And in order for people to feel comfortable, they have to feel like they know somebody. They have to recognize that, you know.
I was going to tell a story. I went to an Orangetheory class a few months ago, and now I've done Orangetheory before, so like I get it. Also, I've been in the gym since I was a teenager. So like I get that too. So as far as like intimidation or gym intimidation is concerned, I'm not a gym intimidated person. I'm just gonna keep saying it until it catches on. That's my goal. Anyways, but my experience of walking into this Orangetheory studio was very bad, actually. I walked in, it was the 9:30 a.m. like Wednesday class, which 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. on a weekday. That's a certain clientele. You get the 9:30 people.
It's the stay-at-home moms, the people that work at home, or some like officers.
People.
Yeah,
It's the same people. And I walked in and I'm a newbie, and I don't care if I'm a newbie, like I'm not, but like nobody in that facility attempted to make me feel comfortable as the obvious outsider. Nobody even told me how the workout went. Nobody asked me if I had any familiarity with it, or if I knew what I was doing, or if I was physically fit. Nobody, like, there was nothing. It's like, oh, here's your heart rate strap, and yeah, just go get on a treadmill, and class starts in 10 minutes. It's like, okay. So like, fortunately, I was able to figure it out, but it was a terrible experience, and I almost wanted to walk out. Like, that first few minutes of the customer experience is the make or break. Right?
Yeah. 100%. And just also like, I don't also like those robotic experiences that can happen. It seems a little forced, you know what I mean? I always just say, come from a genuine place, you know what I mean? And putting focus and observation and noticing, certain things about the client. If you pay attention to people, people will show you exactly where they're at. And I think I'm blessed to have a staff that is super on it in that sense. Sometimes clients won't even have to ask, for certain things or help with the locker, or, my staff is just there. And just being really aware of the surroundings, I think, is kind of huge in probably the training process at Edge, because once it gets going, it really gets going. So you're just multitasking throughout the time.
Just to close the loop on that Orangetheory anecdote, though, it's like there was a piece of advice I got from a job I had a long time ago, and it was about customer service, and the piece of advice which stuck with me forever, and I actually still use this in the back of my mind when I take on new clients in my health coaching business. It's like, as the person at the front desk or whatever, you may hear the same question 100 times a day, but that's the first time that person asked it. So you have to always answer the question or approach the person as though this is the first time you've ever been asked, like, how does Orangetheory work? Right. Furthermore, when I went into the class, the instructor, because she had been teaching this time slot forever and knew all these ladies, they had their own language. So here's the example. On the treadmill on Orangetheory, you do these sprints, and then you like this little sprint interval, sprinting and then resting, sprinting, resting. It's an awesome workout. I quite like it. It's totally up my alley. But listen to this. On the treadmill, because you're working either on the treadmill or a rowing machine or in a little weight room. When I was on the treadmill, she'd say, okay, you're going to sprint for 90 seconds flat out or whatever. And then after you did your flat out run, she'd say, all right, and stop. Okay, 3 on the left and 1 on the right. 3 on the left, 1 on the right. She kept saying 3 on the left, 1 on the right. And I was like, what does that mean? I literally was like, I was looking over at my neighbor. I was like, what does she mean when she says that? Oh, well, 3 on the left is your speed. 1 on the right is your incline. So 3 miles an hour on a 1% incline. I'm like, how is anybody supposed to figure that out? Like, there's a new person in the room. Don't just start yelling 3 at the left and 1 on the right, because I don't know what that means. I'm never going to come back. Like, if I was a gym intimidated person, I would never go back to that because I don't speak the language. Anyway,
did she introduce herself to you?
No, she didn't. And as a group fitness instructor, I was taking notes. I was like, interesting. Ask me who I was.
Right. I mean, it's funny because if you can imagine, CrossFit's one of these things that comes with a lot of intimidation for a lot of people, right? People are, but we're a small little neighborhood box. We're tiny, you walk in the door, you see the whole gym. There's like nothing behind closed doors. It's all very open, and it's abundantly clear who's new and who's not. And part of our culture is when there's somebody new in class, go up and say hello, not just the instructors, the participants in the class, because chances are there's only 8 of you or 12 of you, everybody can go up and say hi. And it's part of what helps people feel just welcome and a lot less like, okay, I can handle this, and there are, whatever, I like to cherry pick certain members that I know are just great at that, and be like, hey, go up and just kind of see how she's doing. And because if I'm always the one picking on her, I don't, so just buddy up, and they do that. And it just, the client experience when you feel welcomed and part of the tribe is what brings people back to most sort of small group fitness experiences,
I think
and
that's everything.
And in our, yeah, totally. And in our, any health coaching community, I don't think this is unique to us, but any health coaching community, there's a fair number of fitness professionals, whether you're a personal trainer, group fitness, or what have you. But, every single one of them are looking for ways to be better, but also better ways to leverage their time and make more money without sacrificing the client experience. I mean, do you have some words of wisdom there for maybe a personal trainer wanting to make a switch and open up something like this? Like, how do you move to that sort of leverageable space without diluting the client experience?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in a personal connection. I think if somebody is also feels like you are relatable, they kind of have a tie to you as well, which is more than a time slot, which is more, that'll bring them after work when they're extremely tired to not cancel. You know what I mean? If they feel like they have a personal connection to you, it's like, okay, like they're holding me accountable. I need to not only do this for myself, but I made a commitment to this person and they're going to hold me accountable for that. So I think that that's huge, because there are so many things. I think for people who are just starting to get into fitness, or even when like you're really in it, it's kind of just like an up and down roller coaster. So it's like, how do we stay committed? We'll come up with all of the excuses in the world to not go to the gym, but if we're going out with our friends, it's a little bit of a different story, So how do we as instructors, how do we as personal trainers eliminate these excuses that come up in, our heads? We're human. We have it, they have it. But, I think it's really important just in training to establish that rapport and to create it really strong. I always say that it's better to have long-lasting clients and clients that take kind of like a lot longer time to really get into the groove of, instead of hitting it off really quickly, being a little surfaced, finding out, that was great, and then they leave. There's nothing more there than just surface conversation. So I believe a rapport and personal connection is huge in fitness. And you'll notice that longevity wise, you'll be in this game for a little bit longer.
Well, and when I hear about the environment that you've built, right, and how fun it is, one of the things that will keep people coming back is that I want to be there, right? It's an environment that it's fun and it lifts me up. Yeah, I'm dragging, but I know I'm going to get in there and music's pumping and everyone's like, oh, you feel like Norm. You walk in, everyone says your name, and it's a place that you want to go, even though maybe you might not be feeling it right then in the moment. Once you get there and you walk in the door, you're going to be really glad you did.
When Laura said you feel like Norm, did you know who she was talking about?
I'm sorry?
When Laura just said you feel like Norm, did you know who she was talking about? Norm?
No, I thought
See, that's such an age. Okay, so the show Cheers. Okay, it was a sitcom, I don't know what was this, like
in the
20
80s.
years ago? Yeah, like 30 years ago. And so Cheers was this bar in Boston. And Sam was the bartender. You had all these characters, and Norm was one of the patrons that was there every single day. And so when he walked in the door, everyone yelled, Norm! That's what that was referencing. Thanks, Erin. There are probably people listening to this that don't know who Norm is.
The only reason I pulled that out was because there was no recognition on Jenea's face as to who Norm was. I was like, oh no, we've just bridged the age divide here. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
But
that's
a great point. I've heard this before as a group fitness instructor. Well, actually, just to backtrack, personal trainers, I think, have a really great opportunity because first, whenever I've had a personal trainer, and I love working with a personal trainer, by the way, I've paid money in advance and I'm showing up. So, that's the whole skin in the game thing. Now with group fitness, what I've heard before is that people will quit treadmills all the time. People will quit people will quit elliptical machines all the time, but people won't quit people quite as easily. So this whole idea around building rapport cannot be overstated. It is gold. No matter what kind of health, fitness, nutrition coach you are, get that personal connection going, because people don't quit people. People quit programs all the time. Programs. That's why, in my health coaching business, I've stopped talking about my program as a program. I talked about it as a relationship, as a mentorship. I'm changing the language, because program's a program. I'll quit a program in a heartbeat, So rapport, great point.
Well, and I also think, like, just to instructors and personal trainers, it's hard to be likable when you're kicking people's asses. Like that's a really hard skill to kind of like fine tune. There's times to be hard and there's times to be an instructors, but there's also, times to lighten it up and be human, and maybe throw in a compliment, a story, just anything that just bridges that gap, to where they know, okay, cool, like I'm okay, I'm okay. I feel safe. I trust you. I think that's huge.
Yeah, and that people feel like that they can roll with it because the instructor can roll with it, right? As far as, and I totally see a parallel here to just a traditional health coaching model where your clients want to show up because they're showing up for you, and they look forward to every session because they know they're going to get something out of every single one. Right. And this connection, and the fact of the matter is, every single health coaching that's been doing this a while, and I'm sure you see this in your fitness journey, is that sometimes there are days someone comes to you and it's just something else is in the way that day. Something happened, right? Something happened, and they came because, or they showed up for the session because it was scheduled, but dang, dude, my heart's not here. My head's not here. And sometimes you need to just put that aside and be like, where are you today? And let's figure out what's going to benefit you today. We might not be talking about what you ate last week. We're talking about the fact that you haven't slept for 3 days. Because something happened. And this is where, and I'm sure you see it as a fitness instructor too. I know bartenders that feel this way, and hairstylists this day. You're kind of part therapist.
Yes.
When this kind of stuff happens. And when, gosh, I look at it as a gift, right? When a client trusts me with that conversation and that moment in their life, and you've got to treat it with care and be there. And especially kind of small group fitness where your classes are smaller and you can pay attention to each individual person and kind of have an idea. You not literally, it's not personal training, but you can get a feel for who needs a little extra love that day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. And when you think about, like, I think there's a really neat parallel here, because teaching a fitness class, it's actually impossible to hone in on each individual person. It's a complete impossibility. So when I'm setting up on stage in front of 40 people in my class, I can generally see that 3 or 4 or 10 of them are having a hard time with certain techniques. So I can blanket statement to technique cue, like, hey, let's try to all make sure we're doing this. Like, you're making a lot of blanket statements, a lot of blanket pep talks, a lot of, it's very blanket, but it's a really interesting exercise because it's like reading a room and getting a sense of what the collective's experience is. So like coaches who are working in any kind of group environment, if you're going to be getting up in a group program or a group talk or leading a class or leading a session, being able to read a room is kind of a unique skill that a group fitness instructor, I think, hones over time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How do you touch the class as a whole, and how do you touch each individual person? Because you don't necessarily always have to be talking to, each person, because I agree, we have 45 bikes in our studio, but there is a balance to where you can make sure that they all walk away almost like they had a personal training experience.
Yes. Cool.
I love it.
So the boutique fitness space, the boutique fitness studio space, this is an exploding market. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Never mind just indoor cycling studios, but everything else, like the surf one. What is that? Like, anyway.
There's a surf one?
There is. You're on these surfboards.
Wow.
Yeah. So how do you let's talk about marketing. How do you get your message out there? So obviously, because Edge Cycle is in San Diego, so you're specifically marketing to a local audience, like it's actually a brick and mortar location. So this is, maybe a little bit different than coaches who have remote businesses. So what have been some of your marketing initiatives, like in terms of strategy? How have you figured out who your ideal client is? Where do you go to reach these people, and how is marketing unpacked for you?
Totally. I think, starting with the studio itself, Fuck Basic is really big on our wall. And we're a place of all windows. So you can see that wall probably from all the way down the street. We have a hangry sign for our snack bar, which is light up neon pink, which you can see again down the street. And I wanted people, to know what they were getting from the jump. Right when you walk in. Obviously, if you're a little bit more of a conservative person, you're probably not going to walk into a space that says Fuck Basic. Like, wow, that's appalling. I can't believe that's there. But I wanted people to know what they were getting. And just, I think from our Instagram to just anything we kind of put out, as far as like ads running on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, everything is very blunt and very straight up. And some people have said it's controversial, but with that, it's like when people walk into the door, they're already like juiced on exactly of what this is. They're usually a really rowdy group of people. They're usually really unapologetic themselves. If they're on the shy end, give them a month coming to classes and I'm like, wow, you're talking more than I've ever heard you speak, but that's just because that the space itself promotes that. So I always say, even if you have to stay true to your brand, right, on every single platform, but don't sugarcoat things for people. It almost gives them just like a false product. If you're extremely upfront with your product, if you're extremely upfront with yourself, then you'll attract exactly what you need. There's always going to be people who don't align with it, but just kind of like a relationship, it's like we just got to be honest in who we are, and we'll attract exactly who we need to have in there.
Oh my gosh, totally. We talk about all the time, Erin, right? About people are always like, well, where am I going to find clients? And we're like, no, they're going to find you. Your clients are going to find you. And this is how they find you. Erin and I have also talked about this. The number of, I don't have to convince someone to hire me. By the time they're ready to sit down and talk to me, they kind of already know who I am. Yeah. They just really want to know how much it's going to cost. Yeah. Right?
100%. That's another conversation.
Right. But that is another conversation. Maybe we should actually talk about that a little bit.
But I think we should summarize this bit, because Jenea just crystallized everything we've ever heard /said /taught about where do I find clients? How do I market myself? First of all, who the heck is your client? Secondly, just authentically connect in your own voice and create a voice that's authentic to you. Because then the people who are aligned with that mission will come to you. So like the people who are offended by the Fuck Basic mural aren't coming in. People who maybe identify, oh, I'm basic, I guess I can't go there. I don't know. But this comes back, like what's really interesting is you have a mural on your wall. Like, let's just go with this metaphor, right? So if I walk by that mural and it speaks to me, it's like, I'm going to go in there. If I walk by that mural and it annoys me and I'm like, ugh, that's rude, I'm not going to go in. Now, for coaches running virtual businesses, you don't have a wall, you can't put a mural on it, but the metaphor stands. Whatever you're putting out there is going to resonate positively with some people and is going to just totally go in one ear, not the other for other people. And the people for whom that goes in and out the ear, those aren't your people. So don't chase those. The ones who like your message, those are your people. They will come to you. Just be really clear about your message. Like, just put a mural up on your metaphorical wall. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Erin.
Huge. That's huge. The online coaches of the world and stuff, social media is a huge factor. It's a huge factor. And you can kind of tell. You can tell when something is just a little forced and, again, not as genuine. You can tell when it comes really natural. Stick to what you know and be okay with what you don't, because that it comes across notice, especially for the consumer.
Awesome. Yeah. So maybe we can kind of dip our toe in the water a little bit about that sort of like pricing conversation, because, CrossFit has the reputation of being more expensive than maybe a typical gym, but a lot less expensive than paying for personal training, right? Significantly less. But we still inevitably, it's, wow, that sounds like a lot. I could go to Lifetime Fitness for the same price and have a pool and have this and have that. Why would I pay you to come to this grubby little gym with a bunch of just, barbells and stuff? So, and that's where it really comes down to having a conversation with what people really want and why they're here in the first place and what brought them in the door. But I'd love to hear your conversations and kind of how you sort of tackle that conversation.
Yeah, I think, and in working more in Los Angeles and the Bay Area, San Diego is a huge bodybuilding community. And that was a huge thing that I didn't know, when we first made the decision to go to San Diego and kind of open a spin studio there. There's a lot of controversy on cardio in general.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to create options for the bodybuilding community,
Yeah.
You have to understand 6 months out of the year they're cutting, and then the other 6 months, they're building, so knowing that was a huge area of opportunity just for me to grow as somebody, who owns the business and just in fitness in general. So we had to provide options for those people to only have a package that renews once a week, for them to come 4 times a month instead
Mm-hmm.
of every single day, which is the unlimited. For the most part, people who try Edge, they go straight to the unlimited package. They want to do it all the time, and that's really cool because they get addicted. It is going to be the full body workout because we do have the weights and because of the resistance in the interval training.
Mm-hmm.
If that obviously didn't exist, then I would say, yep, this is just a cardio place,
Mm-hmm.
But they do get that extra thing. And we added Edge and Booty, which people are, attacking Booty right after 45 minutes and then 15 minutes of Booty. And that was just us trying to fine tune things on the schedule so we can cater, to the demographic of San Diego. But a lot of times, it takes them 3 times to really want to invest in a package, so we have, after your first time ride, you get 3 classes for only $30. You still have to pay for a shoe rental outside of that because we do have spin shoes. And after that, the first time it's you don't really get it. You think it's kind of cool. You're wondering what the hype is. The second time you're getting a little better and you're like, okay, this is kind of cool. And the third time it's oh, okay. I got my bike. I know my shoes. I know I'm going to sweat a lot. I think I can yell. I'm going to cheers my neighbor this time, so I think creating something to kind of just guide them in to really see if it's for them. If it's 45 minutes or an hour workout and it's your first time, you don't know if that's going to benefit. It's really easy to just say no right away. So you have to present almost like a starter package or something to really just work them in. And then they get to make that decision,
Mm-hmm.
If you did a really good job in class, then the class will sell itself. I don't really believe in heavy, hard hitting sales after. It's the product has to be able to speak to. Everything else is just sugarcoat.
Absolutely.
Ooh, great advice. Very good advice. Very, very good advice. Yeah. The product has to stand up. And then I think that the quality of the product is sometimes something that coaches fail to put a spotlight on,
Right.
They honestly we've had coaches who agonized over their business card or the colors of their logo. And it's but how are you actually going to improve a person's life? Start putting some mental energy into what the program and the delivery will be like, because that's where the magic is, really.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, we get a lot of folks too starting out. Maybe you could speak to this a little bit. Your background and kind of where you came from, but maybe is a little bit different. But we've got folks coming into this realm with a lot of insecurity.
Yeah.
A lot of who's going to hire me? I'm only, insert whoever it is they think they are. Right. And then that's where they really struggle with how they price themselves. We've got coaches that come to market massively undercharging for their time. Massively. And to me, that right there says to a client that you don't value your own time and your own message and your value. And I think where coaches kind of get stuck is they think they've got to somehow guarantee an outcome, right? No, that's not what this is about, right? What you're guaranteeing is an experience, right? You're guaranteeing that you're passionate and that this person's going to be well cared for and that you're going to be there and you're going to show up on time and you're going to be professional and you're going to follow through on everything you said. But at the end of the day, whether someone successfully loses the 20 pounds or whatever it is they came to you for by X date, let that go. You can't be responsible for that, right? I mean, can you relate to that at all? Kind of moving into going from SoulCycle, this huge brand, to opening your own sort of studio and will they come? I mean, it sounds to me like, and this goes to another, like making intelligent risks that you kind of you had a following anyway, right? But if you wouldn't mind speaking to that and kind of those feelings and what was going on in your head, that'd be awesome.
No, totally. I begin class personally asking people to let go of all expectations. We're going to start there. Because I think, there are some people who like to know exactly how much they're losing and they want to calculate how many calories per class. And we have things called, iWatches, which, to be honest, drive me absolutely insane. I'm sure they're great. It just sucks when they go off in class. It's just, I really just start just by telling people to let go first. If you're going to do this, you got to not be worried about your grade. You have to not be worried about, trying to hit this goal. Because as people, when we're walking around just on a daily basis, that's what we do. We got to do this. 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 And unfortunately, we're walking through life and we're not really doing it, So getting people to focus and be there, I think, is huge. Step one. And step two, it's like, I don't present the promises. I don't present the result. I really believe in the journey. And I think that's the cool part about spin is it is like, I'm not going to make you feel one thing. The other instructors aren't going to make you feel one thing. You're going to feel 1,000 things. You're going to be like, oh, I got this. And then you're going to be like, fuck her. And then you're going to be like, wow, this is great. And then you're going to be just really proud of yourself. You're going to feel a ton of different things. And to be honest, it's like, it takes all that to get to your result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It takes all of those things put together in order for you to get to where you want to be, because we all got blockages. We got to start with the blockages first. It's like the six-pack's going to come. Biceps are going to come. Your tone is going to come. I'm not going to talk about that because that will be there. But you have to learn that you got some things to work on first. And that is the fear. That is the blockages. That's how much you're willing to push yourself. That's the consistency you're willing to give yourself. And that's what I think we need to talk about first in order, for you to get to wherever you want to be. I'm pretty blunt in class, and so are my instructors. And I'll say, I don't care how many rolls you have on your stomach. I don't care how much you want to lose for summer. I do not care, how big you want that butt to be. I don't care. I care about your heart, and I care about your well-being, and I care about how you woke up this morning. And suddenly, when you start to make that a priority, all of a sudden you're radiating and you're in this body that you never thought you could have. But we start,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kind of like the subjective experience of how things are feeling rather than just objectifying and collecting data, obsessing on the data. But also what's really good about that is that bringing people back to this moment, like in this moment, the objective is this. Your greater goal might be this six-pack or giant booty. But that's your greater goal. But we got to focus on the little minuscule steps that get up to that goal. If we focus on that goal, we are going to be so preoccupied that we won't be able to focus on this moment and what we need to achieve right here. It's just foundational coaching talk as far as I'm concerned.
Totally.
Well, and What's so funny, and I know every coach can relate to this, whether you're a group fitness instructor, a personal trainer, a health coach. I see it in Facebook groups that I follow, people being like, oh, I've been keto, or, oh, I've been, insert whatever, if it fits your macros program, or, oh, I was been carnivore for a whole 30 days and I've only lost like 4 pounds, and you're just sort of like, oh my, and then everybody kind of jumps in with this. Yeah. Well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? And meanwhile, I'm stepping back like, where was your start? And which you can't have that conversation in a Facebook group, but I see it as a coach too, right? Where it's like the first week and they're stepping on the dang scale every day. Mm-hmm. And I work with women. I'm like, stop doing that, because I'm sorry, but your weight's going to go from here to here to here to every single day. It's going to be something different. And this is why, and this is what we, this is really, oh my gosh, the journey is so much more important. And it's all about focusing. You can't control what the scale says, but you can control your next decision, right? Your next choice. That's what you can control. You can decide to go to bed at 10 o'clock instead of midnight. Mm-hmm. You can decide to take a bubble bath at night instead of the 3rd, 4th glass of wine, right? Mm-hmm. You can decide to go for a walk instead of sitting down and watching TV at night. You can decide to opt for, one nutritional choice over another, and that's what, as coaches, we need to help people focus on. And this is hugely important. And I mean, I'm sorry, the big ass is not coming unless your ass is in that seat, right? Yeah. And you're enjoying the experience.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, it drives me bonkers. But at the same time, I get it. Like, I get where it's coming from. Right?
It's I always say to my clients, like, it's not even really your fault. It's sort of like the culture. This was bred into us by the culture of dieting and the culture of whatever body recomposition, where we have these very lofty goals, and we believe that if we do everything right, that the body should just respond in this really linear fashion. And it's like, I'm really sorry that you're led to believe that, and that's not your fault. So we're going to work on reframing that for you. That's what our relationship is going to be about. So it's kind of like that real talk that you're talking about. I like not coddling people like, oh, don't worry, the weight loss will come, the 6-pack will come, or it's like, no, let's focus on right now what needs to be done in this moment, and quit distracting ourselves away from what we believe is going to be our measure of success. But yeah.
It all comes down to it too, because if the only thing motivating them is the 20-pound weight loss, the abs, the whatever, I'm sorry, but I don't know if you found this, and I'd love it's fleeting. It's not powerful.
It won't even last.
Right.
I've seen people look great for a month. And that's because they're killing every part of themselves just to look that way. And then it's like, that can only like abstain for so long, right? It's like, I understand that there are a ton of things that we can try with dieting, and food and nutrition is a whole other conversation, and I do believe the only thing we can stick to is really what works for us. And we got to try a ton of different things to really find out what works for us, but at the end of the day, our goal should be to feel good and not just to look good, and there's just such a fine line. And you realize if you're being the human that you want to be, if you're, looking within just as much as you're looking in the mirror, you'll see that balance, and you'll see yourself start to change. And I think that us as now, like, fitness is kind of going into that realm. Like, how can we deconstruct what society has taught us altogether, and what we're faced with on Instagram and just all of the social media, and how can we just get to know ourselves and better ourselves a little bit more? And then it seems like we'll be more in the pocket if we do it that way.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. That's right. I love it. So tell us where is Edge Cycle today? Do you have the one location, and tell us a little bit about your classes and kind of where it's located. Where do you want to see it in 5 years?
Totally. We're on year 2, so the whole build out process was a year in itself. So I feel like it's been 3 years, but only on year 2. and things are bumping and grooving. You know, I feel like it got to 2020 and it was like, okay, you know, it took a year to really get to know just the community of San Diego. And once we kind of honed in on that, we're like, okay, let's just step this up. So they're 45-minute classes. We have hour classes on the weekend called 2.0s. Again, we do have an edge and booty class, which is 45 minutes of cardio, 15 minutes of booty with the elastic bands. And we put people in kind of just almost like a circuit rotation. And yeah, I think, you know, it's been great. It feels really cool to watch something grow. And, you know, at the beginning, I was an instructor and running the business. And now year 2, I'm starting to just run the business and letting my instructors really flourish. And they're doing an amazing job. And, you know, it's cool to see that edge has also improved them as well, because they feel more confident. They feel, you know, like they want to impact more people. And it's just a beautiful thing that the riders and the instructors have been able to see this change, and they've been able to go on this path together, you know. But there's a lot of talk about expansion and kind of what we do next. And right now we're just going to stay in downtown San Diego. We did just put retail online because it seems like the Fuck Basic is doing really well. So we're opening that up to no matter where you are, you can go to our website and you can get a Fuck hat. You could get a Fuck Basic water bottle. We have Fuck pop sockets. We have custom backpacks and all of these kind of fun things that people love to, you know, to represent, like really fuck the basic way of living your life and let's do something different. People are down for the movement. But we're kind of just in a space of, you know, crossing our T's and dotting our I's, because it is a thing that we definitely want to bring to more states and expand for sure. Because I just feel like there's so many people to touch, and we just want to see how far this thing can go.
Wonderful.
Awesome. No, yeah. I just have a quick follow-up question to that, because so I heard you say when you first started, you were instructor, but then also owning the business and running the business. And now it sounds to me like you finally kind of let the instructor side go and you're really just running the business. And this is something that I think we need to speak more to with health coaches, is if you're spending all your time in your business as the coach and you're not spending enough time on your business, that's part of why you're not growing. Yeah. So what was that like? And what did that feel like, kind of letting that part go and trusting others to handle the stuff that is not letting your business grow, right? And focusing on that.
It's a really hard thing, you know, because obviously the passion started there. You know, I think the cool thing was that I was an owner that knew the instructor side, because sometimes there's just kind of like a huge difference in power struggle kind of with that. So I can relate to my instructors very, very well. But it kind of just got it to a point to where it was like, I'm not being a really good leader if I'm not instilling in them what I've been able to already achieve, you know. They always say that you're doing really well in your business if you're able to move on and your business can still flourish. And I've always just taken that saying really to heart throughout this process. So I think sometimes as fitness instructors, we can be so our class and what I've done. And, you know, I think that is really great. But if you're able to share that and you're able to train people to kind of rise and gain their own success in that realm, I think it just speaks more to, you know, who you are and your success and just as a leader, you know. So I noticed people very hungry in the beginning. I noticed instructors who really wanted to make an impact. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't allow that to come true. So taking a step back and really just watching them grow has just been probably the most fulfilling right now. And, you know, I'll come back and I'll teach every once in a while, and I'm sure again I will, but until they are where they want to be, I'm there to support them. I'm there to lead them. I'm there to have trainings with them. And it's a really cool place to be. Your focus and your passion just shifts a little bit.
Cool. I love it. I love it. What advice would you give to some, whether it's health coaches listening or fitness professionals listening, who have either been afraid to get out there on their own and just do it? What little piece of advice would you pass on?
If you can't get something out of your head, you got to just start. A lot of times we wait till, somebody else initiates the conversation, somebody else takes a step forward. Like, we wait for people to give us permission to do the things that we want to do subconsciously, especially when fear is in the way. And we think we need to have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of experience. And all of that is just learned and gained upon the way. I always just say, you got to just start. You got to do something that works yourself towards what you want to do, especially if you can't let it go. It's speaking to you for a reason. So you got to trust that.
I love it.
That's great.
I would agree.
This has been very enlightening. Thank you so much for sharing all of your journey with us. I think there's a lot of great takeaways here, no matter what kind of health, fitness, or nutrition coach is listening. Congratulations on EdgeCycle being such an outstanding success, and we wish you great success going forward. Thank you so much, Jenea.
Thank you guys so much. It was so
Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.